guess you can say everybody's having a good time this Christmas, even the cat. And it was a weird Christmas too, because we reached 78 degrees here. DFW recorded their hottest Christmas ever, 80 degrees at DFW in the old record. Let's see, I was trying to pull that up before we went on the air, and 75 last year. I hope this is not the start of a trend. But if you want to see the records for DFW, there it is. This is Christmas high temperatures from the most recent record, not counting today, all the way back to through history, and then the coldest day, that's going to be, of course, 1983 with 21 degrees. And then we had 31 and 85. I barely remember that one. I think I was in San Antonio that year. Anyway, let's check out the picture across the U.S. And I've been hanging out with family most of the day, so I haven't haven't been following much of this, and I'll be kind of jumping in this with you guys. But you can see the big northern plain storm coming together. There it is, located right there, just north of Pierre, South Dakota. And we've had a front coming southward through Nebraska. And we did manage to squeak out a few thunderstorms as that moved eastward through this region. And I've got a clip here courtesy of Ryan McGinnis. I appreciate the use of this clip, and this is from about, I think about 6 or 7 hours ago. This is Kearney, Nebraska, showing a little bit of a spin up there.
Just died. I don't know if this is the smartest idea you've had, Ryan.
Looks like maybe some weak F-Zero damage, perhaps, but kind of amazing seeing something like that going on in December. Usually we're looking at March before they get the storms going there. But we saw last night on the charts we had just barely enough CAPE in this area to support severe weather, and the CAPE was almost non-existent up here. But we did have some fairly good helicity, and sometimes that's all that's all it takes to get a spin up of these showers and shallow thunderstorms. We can also see, let's head down to Texas and check out what's going on down here. We're definitely in the tropical air mass. And you can see the 70s right now. It's kind of cooled off a bit over the past few hours. But the cold front right now is located from just east of Kansas City, south of Tulsa, northwest to Fort Worth, and about back to San Angelo and Sanderson. So it's mostly moving northeast. The component of motion to the southeast is very weak. So there's a good chance that this is going to stall over the next 24 to 36 hours. And we've got pretty high dew points coming up from the Gulf. You can see 65, reaching all the way to Waco and around Kerrville, and a few 70s just off the coast there. So I haven't looked at the precipitable waters, but I'm sure those are probably going to be up near 1.5 to 2 inches. So we're going to be looking at possibly a rain event here over the next day or two in this area right here along that stalled front. Let's go out to the thickness chart and check out what's going on there. Make sure I didn't lose that chart. Yeah, here we go. Well, I guess we'll start with the satellite. That's fine. This is the infrared satellite imagery, and remember, we're looking at temperatures here. So here we have very cold cloud tops, and the darker shades, those are going to be warmer ground or warmer stratus radiating up to the satellite. And you can pretty much make out the surface front about where we showed that on the other chart. And back behind it, very well-defined clear slot working its way up through eastern Nebraska and into southeastern South Dakota. And the main cold core low right there. So if we had a little bit more heating and a little bit more clearing, we would probably see some pretty good, maybe rotating cells back here around Rapid City out to the Scottsbluff area. And back behind it, of course, we see a little bit of this striated appearance to the cloud. So maybe that's suggesting maybe a jet stream. kind of coming up like that. A lot of times these dry slots, those will be kind of associated with the jets. And the subsidence side of the jet, we'll tend to find that right in there. Okay, so back behind this front, you can see we've got a little bit lighter shading to this infrared imagery. So this is the cold air that's kind of trickling in behind there. And let's head over to the anomaly chart. This is kind of neat because this can also help kind of place the fronts. This is the 0Z, in other words, 2 hours ago, temperature anomaly. So temperatures below normal in a lot of New Mexico and all the way up to Wyoming and definitely Montana, and above normal in the Great Plains itself, the I-35 corridor. So this is showing, yeah, we're kind of looking at the front maybe intruding a little bit further east, maybe east of that zero line. But that pretty much places where your front is, and that gives you an idea where your warm front is going to be especially. So we're going to look for that on the surface chart up there. It doesn't look like any new cold outbreaks working south from Canada. So we can see temperatures are kind of close to normal up in the Northwest Territories. The main cold air center, that's going to be over Alberta, British Columbia, and the Great Basin area. And there we go. There's the thickness chart. So where's the core of the cold air? Did I say pole of the core? Okay, let's try that again. Where's the core of the cold air? Looks like it extends all the way down to, yeah, the Great Basin. That's kind of where we saw that on that other chart. Looks like we've got a kind of a closed contour there near Twin Falls up to Great Falls. And a little bit of a thickness trough in here. So this is where the bulk of the cold air is positioned. And then the surface front, we're going to be looking for that from Des Moines to south of Tulsa, just where we saw it on the surface chart, down to Sanderson, south of that thickness ribbon. And we know the warm front's going to be pretty far up north towards the Lake Superior and Lake Huron area, so right there. And then we finish that off with an occlusion coming back to the main low pressure center over the Aberdeen area. And just west of there, this is where we're developing that potential blizzard area. And that'll kind of trail in the back of that system as it moves into Minnesota through tonight and early tomorrow. Other than that, not a whole lot going on. We're just going to see the cold air advection streaming in through the Great Plains and the tail end of the front, south of California. And then we're looking at these closed systems off the coast. This one right here, and looks like a new warm front developing right off the Washington coast. So that'll be the next one in line in about maybe 2 or 3 days from now, coming on shore. And let's see, am I out of charts? That's pretty much it. I'll take a quick look at these soundings. It's always good to get practice with that, even in benign weather conditions. In fact, I'll go all the way down to Miami. There's no weather down there, but, we can kind of look at a different air mass that we're not really accustomed to. Here we can see the surface conditions there at Miami. We follow that up to this scale here, and that falls between the 20 and 30 degree line. So 24 Celsius, that's going to be about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So very warm conditions at the surface, and a little bit of moisture there from the surface up to 3,000. Then we start getting a little bit dry air above that. And the lapse rates are not very steep either, because we've got a little bit of warm air up in this layer here from about 10 to 20,000 feet. So that's helping to keep things a little bit on the subsidence side, a little bit on the stable side. So if we try to generate showers there, there's going to be a little bit of resistance as that builds upward, and maybe a little bit of cape above that, but other than that, pretty close to stable. In Brownsville, Texas, got a little bit of a stronger cap there. That cap is centered around 850 to 700 millibars. which is about 5 to 10,000 feet. So any development we get there, say we get up to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which I doubt we can, and we lift that parcel like that, there's a ton of convective inhibition right there. So strongly capped there. We're not going to be able to support showers down in South Texas, even if that front makes it that far south. But above that, yeah, there's some cape up there for sure. And there's the equilibrium level right there. And then the storm tops, we're going to find that a little bit higher, up at about 47,000 feet. But again, that only assumes that storms develop, which in this case, they're not going to. And then we'll take a look at, let's try one more in advance of the main frontal system. Let's try Minneapolis right here. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. So surface system right there, remember. Cold front, I think we were seeing an occluded front kind of like this. And then the main cold front coming down through Iowa like that. And I think we have the warm front a little bit further north. And actually this conflicts a little bit with that thickness chart, because you see these 30s here in Chicago. A little bit of cold weather through here. So I'm going to push that front further south. So I'm going to put that all the way down to the bottom of the chart around St. Louis and Evansville. So we're going a little bit further what the thickness chart had, because the thickness chart, that surface through 5,000, that's averaging a very deep layer. And the 1,000 through 850 millibar chart is going to tend to show this a little bit better. And of course, the surface chart just kind of nails that. So let's take a look at a sounding in this sector north of the warm front, say in Wisconsin. Let's try Green Bay. Frontal inversion. Yeah, you see that right there. Very cool air at the surface, from the surface up to 2,000 feet, and above that, very strong inversion. It tilts up and to the right. And then we get to the top of the frontal inversion right there at about 10,000 feet. And above that, that's kind of like the tropical air mass, because if we extend that down to the surface, that's going to be a temperature of about 15 to 16 Celsius, about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty warm up there. So one air mass above that and another below that right there. And so since you've got that frontal inversion right there and cool air at the surface, you're going to expect to find that front to the south, especially with these winds blowing out of the south right there. So yeah, feel free to check that out if you want to look at some more soundings and get more practice. That's going to be the website right here, the UCAR upper air page. And you can just click on some different soundings and kind of tie that in with what you see going on the surface charts. Okay, we'll check in on the chat real quick. Before I do that, let me get the maps all lined up here. And we got 6 people on. This is one of our slowest nights in a long time. Of course, it's Christmas. Everybody's out doing stuff. And, of course, I pretty much expected this. I'm sure we're going to be back to normal tomorrow. But I'm glad those of you who are here were able to join us. And I got one question from Sue. Which one of your books has a good review of soundings? The best basic book is going to be Storm Chasing Handbook, because that starts out very simple. But if you want a more in-depth intro, you could probably go with Weather Analysis and Forecasting. And one that's a little bit more focused on severe weather is going to be Severe Storm Forecasting. So you can give those a try. So Weather Analysis and Forecasting, that'll probably be the best one to start with. Okay, let's take these charts forward, starting with tonight. Here's our main North Plain storm, heading to the northeast through Minnesota. During the day, that'll move through that area into Ontario, And then when we do the webcast tomorrow, you can see that front trailing from Memphis through DFW and back towards West Texas. And a lot of that energy will be going well to the north of New York. Warm front lifting north of New York all the way to Montreal. So even Montreal up there is going to be getting a little bit of rain, which is kind of unusual for this time of year. Very weak cold air advection into the Central Plains. And then our webcast for Tuesday is going to look like this. Just high pressure across the central U.S. Lee side trough developing along the Rockies right there. And a new system starting to come into the Pacific Northwest. And this cutoff low off in the corner right here. We'll probably be contending with that as it lifts northeastward. Okay, then for Wednesday, we get a little bit of a push of cold air coming southward. There it goes right there. Cold air advection all through Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Wisconsin. And it looks like a new warm front through Detroit and maybe, I don't know, it could be anywhere from Indianapolis and Cincinnati up to Detroit, one of the two. I'll probably go with this one right now. And that'll be driven mostly by this 1040 high moving inland from the Pacific. Then our webcast on Thursday, that cold air makes an advance southward, clears Texas, and it should be a little bit cooler. Definitely cold in the Great Lakes area in the northeast. And then we get up to Friday. Not much change, but a little bit of a warm-up in the Central Plains. Looks like a new round of cool air coming south through Wyoming and the Dakotas. Then New Year's Eve. New Alberta Clipper moving southward. It's going to look just like that. Looks like a little bit of rain developing out ahead of that. Maybe I'll carry that a little bit further south. Because see, I'm looking at these thickness lines. They're kind of bunched up through Oklahoma right there. So that I'd probably place that a little bit further south. And probably a little bit of baroclinic development right in this area, indicated there by the precipitation field. And then let's see, New Year's Day. Looks like kind of a backdoor front situation into Texas, a little bit of a cool push into there. New round of cold air developing in the North Plains and North Rockies right there. And then for Monday, that cold push really starts firming up here. Looks like we get a good push of mid-level air and some anticyclogenesis, and that kicks that front southward Tuesday and Wednesday. And look at that 540 line coming all the way through Dallas and Memphis, and even all the way down to Phoenix. So is this the GFS cold bias? It could be. We're at 228 hours here. That's not too far off, so this does bear watching. But there's the cold core right there. You can see that bullseye of thickness right there. So that's going to be a big cold blast, and if that pans out, looks like a cold start to the first week of 2017. And the 5th looks like the coldest day. Actually, the cold front is well south of that, off in the Gulf of Mexico right there. And you can see that 540 line all the way down to Houston and Atlanta. So if this actually happens, we're going to be looking at a lot of 30s across this area and maybe 20s along the Red River up to Nashville. Then after that, just kind of a quiet period and maybe another Alberta Clipper through here. And that brings us pretty much to the end of the chart and the end of any sanity in these forecast runs, since we're 384 hours out. And that's about it for me today. I still haven't had Christmas dinner, so I'm going to go and do that. I appreciate you all watching, and Mike says, what are you using the pressure field to place your fronts when I draw them? I'm using a tool here called Zoom It. Anyway, hopefully we'll see y'all tomorrow, and hope you all have a great Christmas to you and your family, and we'll see you at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Thanks.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright, while fun is